Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Northern Lights, Canadian Women in Tech and Business, where we highlight the incredible journeys of inspiring women who are shaping the future of business and innovation in Canada. Today, we are thrilled to be joined by Teresa Resch. Teresa is the inaugural president of the Toronto Tempo, the first WNBA franchise outside the United States, set to begin play in 2026. With more than 2 decades of experience growing the game of basketball globally, Teresa spent 11 seasons as senior leader with the Toronto Raptors, where she led major initiatives such as the launch of Raptors 905, the development of OVO Athletic Center, and the relocation of the Raptors to Tampa during the 2020 to 2021 season. Earlier in her career, she worked at the NBA League office within international basketball operations, helping to organize Basketball Without Borders camps across 4 continents and expanding the NBA's global footprint. Teresa's leadership, vision, and commitment to building organizations from the ground up have led an indelible mark on the Canadian sports landscape. Teresa, thank you so much for joining me today.
Intro. Thanks so much, Berlin. Great to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. To start things off, can you share with us what first inspired you to pursue your career in professional sports management, and was there a defining moment that set you on this path?
I would love to share the story. I mean, the great thing about sports is there's not one direct path. So, no matter where you're at on your career journey, you can still find your way to sports if it's a passion of yours. So, for me, I grew up in a very small town. It's called Lakefield in southwestern Minnesota, and about population was about 1,200. And I went to university to play volleyball. I really didn't think that was an option for me, but had the opportunity to play Division 2. And when I went there, it was really the first time I realized that you could have a career in sports outside of being a player or a coach. And at that point, I set my sights on working in sports more on the event side. I knew as a mediocre Division 2 athlete, I was not going to be a professional in anything. And there was my freshman year. We hosted the NCAA Division 2 volleyball championships, and there was a woman that came, and she was from the NCAA, and her job was, director of championships or something like that. And I set my sights on that goal. Like I wanted to do that job. She was making my dream come true, so I'm like I could do that for other student athletes. So I spent time learning about the industry, working different sports events, ended up going to graduate school in Florida and gaining a lot of experience in just the sports industry. Ultimately, I did an internship, and as part of that internship, I was worked the NBA pre-draft camp. Uh, they had just relocated it from Chicago down to Disney because they had just done the media rights deal. And I met the people from the league office, and ultimately they connected me to my very first ever like full-time career job. So I would say meeting the woman in Sioux Falls, South Dakota that ran championships got me down the path and thinking that sports could be a career, and then ultimately working that event as an intern, the draft combine, like was really pivotal. I don't think I would be in basketball without that connection.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Teresa, for sharing that with us. That's a really powerful origin story. And just building on that, earlier in your career, you worked in international basketball operations at the NBA League office. What were some of the key experiences that shaped your global perspective on the game?
Yeah, that was really an important step in my journey to gain just a much broader worldview. Being able to uh, use basketball as a tool to connect the world was really, really powerful. One of my roles, I have to remember this is my first job ever. So I was an assistant, really just focused on getting things done. And one of the things I was doing is logistics with the Sports United group, which is part of the US State Department. And they do sports envoy and sports visitor programs, really, really facilitate it. And I remember working with different embassies and consulates around the world. And until that job, I had no idea what the difference was. Like I was just so naive to kind of like the world and how it worked. And it really opened my eyes to understand some of the different um, things at play globally and how sport can sometimes, not sometimes, always serve as a unifier across a lot of variety of cultures and backgrounds. So it was a really firsthand experience to be able to witness that and be part of it.
Hmm. That must have been such a dynamic experience, and especially from how you're describing it. I just want to shift your time over to when you were with the Raptors. You played a major role launching Raptors 905 and overseeing the development of OVO Athletic Center. What were the biggest challenges and proudest moments from those projects?
Very different projects. 905 was definitely a team endeavor. We had identified an opportunity to really develop our players by having our a wholly owned team that could be close, and it was a lot of different people really at the helm playing a role. Was at the beginning really structuring like what could this look like? How is it going to connect back in with the Raptors basketball and then also the MLSE business portion if we are going to wholly own it. So just working with a lot of different groups of people, and that's something that's been really helpful to understand as I've continued on my career, just understanding how to get people rallied around an idea, sharing of information, getting alignment, answering questions like was really, really important for that. Um, for OVO, it was very different. Like that was a capital project, construction project. Um, it was more about serving as a liaison between two groups. So working with the builders, the architects, the constructors, and making sure that what was needed from a team perspective was delivered and also like articulated in a way that is understandable. So it was a really great experience to help with overall like communication, making sure that the goals in the space, overreaching goals and what we were trying to achieve, what the important things were, so that even if I wasn't in the room and decisions were being made or the next step in the project had to go forward, it would come back with something that aligned with our overall vision of the space and what we were trying to create. So both were really instrumental in my career, but very, very different skill sets.
Hmm. Those are some really incredible accomplishments, and it's amazing to hear the impact you've had on building infrastructure for the sport in Canada. Speaking of challenges, the relocation of the Raptors to Tampa during the pandemic was a huge undertaking. Can you walk us through that experience and how you approach leading through such a complex situation?
I mean, if everybody can go back to March of 2020 and like where your head was at, it's like impossible
Mhm.
to now put ourselves in those shoes and all the information we didn't know and what was going to happen. And yeah, it was really interesting. So ultimately that the move actually happened the next year. So it was in, well, December, November of that year. And um, I think some of the things I took away from it were how important it is to be flexible, how important it is to be empathetic to other people's situations. Um, you're never going to do everything right.
Mhm.
Um, Also, out of chaos comes a lot of progress. There was things that we were forced to do, um, that has kind of changed the way that we now do business and really impacted that time frame. We really had to mesh. We really had to be aligned. A lot of sharing of information. Looking back at my some of my notes, it was like every single day I sent an update out to the organization, and it was incredible to like go back and read some of those, and also like how we rallied around each other, really, really entered into that as a unified force. Um, it was a crazy time. Man, it was crazy. I mean, I think even thinking back, how it's impacted all of us. It's really monumental for not just the Raptors, but a lot of people. But I think the biggest thing that I learned from that was a lot of patience and just like how to communicate effectively to a group and not overwhelm. And I mean, the biggest thing was really this huge uncertainty that hung over everyone. And we had to make decisions that we knew were not going to be great for everyone. But what was really apparent is that a decision and direction and certainty was better than none, even if it was something that wasn't necessarily something that you wanted to hear or wanted to do, but at least you knew there was certainty around it. Like the uncertainty of that whole time period was really, really difficult to deal with.
Hmm. Thank you so much for sharing that. And it really shows how much leadership and patience, as you said, took to make that happen. Now, just looking ahead here, as the inaugural president of the Toronto Tempo, what has been your vision for building a new WNBA franchise from the ground up?
So is to be Canada's team. We have an incredible opportunity to unite this nation from coast to coast to coast, and we feel privileged to be in these positions to really lead that. So we look forward to putting a great product on the court. We look forward to uh, creating aspirational opportunities for all Canadians. The vision is truly to change the game. You know, our mission is to win championships and prove that women's sports is good business. And I think we're well on our way.
Yeah, that's really exciting, and it's inspiring to hear how thoughtfully you're approaching this new chapter. And, I think our listeners would really like to know, as a leader, what leadership lessons from your time with the Raptors and the NBA are you bringing to this new chapter with the Toronto Tempo?
I mean, one of the big things is just, I should think of a better way to say this, but basically, like, don't be afraid of taking big risks.
Mhm.
Um, we have to make sure that we do our due diligence and have as much information as possible, but we can't be scared to enter territory unknown and from all different angles. The fact that this team exists me means that there was somebody took a chance and took a risk. This has never been done before, right? There's not ever been a WNBA team in Canada, and if there is, and there's never been a WNBA team that's had an entire country as its marketing territory. So the fact that we exist and within this environment that we exist is a big risk in and of itself.
Mhm.
So I think we continue, we did that with the Raptors. Think big, think outside the box. Don't be afraid of it. But I think the biggest thing is understanding what comes with those risks and is that going to be the overall downfall or is that something that you can recover from? So uh just thinking differently and not being afraid to take those risks is important.
Mhm.
Some things I definitely learned.
That sounds amazing. And I think those ideas really translate into the kind of culture and team you're building now. On a broader level, what are some of the most exciting opportunities you see for women's professional basketball, especially with the WNBA expanding into Canada?
I mean, first and foremost is creating more opportunity on the court, right? So we're Golden State's starting this year. Us and Portland will be in 2026. So that's 36 roster spots. There was only 144 before. There's plans to grow even more. So the fact that we're adding 25% opportunity for people is incredible. And off the court too. Honestly, like my job didn't exist a year ago. We have 16 people now with the tempo, and we'll be up to about 40 or 45 by the time we tip off. Just a ton of opportunity within Canada because these teams exist, and that's just like the direct impact. Um, Only time will tell how we're able to shape and influence the culture and the communities that we're part of. I think we have a little bit of a framework or a predictive model in the Raptors and even the Blue Jays or TFC of what's potentially possible. But I think because it's women's sports, it's a whole new ball game, and I think that the impact that we're going to have is only going to be known once we can look back. So very excited to serve as an aspirational place, inspirational, and hope we can impact and like I said before, show people how you can win and prove that women's sports is good business.
Yeah, it's such an exciting time for women in sports, and it's great to hear about the momentum and all the possibilities ahead. I'm really curious to know, throughout your career, you've taken on roles that involve building and scaling organizations. What advice would you give to others who aspire to lead and grow new initiatives in the sports or business world?
I mean, for me, it was never anything that I necessarily like set out to do. So I wouldn't say that I have a great playbook to follow or anything. All I can do is like look back and see what led me here. And I think that it was a very deep curiosity I was always learning. I was always asking questions. Also, I never hesitated to take advantage of the opportunity in front of me. So I've moved around a lot, and not everybody can do that. But if you have the chance, like follow where the opportunity leads. Don't limit yourself. Um, I think that sometimes we close doors in front of ourselves before one even opens,
Mhm.
which can be a little limiting. Um, and then I think like just scaling. For me, I'm still learning. This is a new environment for me as well. Being in a true startup and expansion, I'd worked for a lot of established organizations, so I'm still learning. Um, but it's been a great challenge. It's really, really rewarding. I've really enjoyed my time here so far. And what's exciting is like there's so much more to still come. So I don't know if that's great advice or not, but I think just being really open. The couple of things that I've learned over the years that I definitely didn't have when I was your age is a lot of patience and a lot of perspective um, through my own experiences, but then also being able to be empathetic towards other people, giving myself some grace, giving others around me some grace.
Mhm.
Um, and ultimately, I would get really, really frustrated with people around me or situations around me, and I'm in just a much better headspace to um, just go with the flow, understand that there's something bigger, being able to see the bigger picture than what I'm being impacted at or by in this exact moment.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm sure our listeners will take a lot away from that advice. I have one final question for you. Looking back at everything you've achieved so far, what legacy do you hope to leave in both Canadian sports and beyond?
Whew, legacy. I feel like I'm too young to talk about legacy, but um, hopefully I've provided some insights into in for people. I don't know. I think I have to think about that some more.
Mhm.
Legacy is a big word, and um, if I can be an example for someone, that things can be done through kind of your own way and your own curiosity. Um, you know, I I was very privileged and very blessed growing up to have really supportive family, to have the financial means to be able to do internships. Um, so I don't know, maybe my legacy is that there's people that now are maybe in positions that had never considered it before because some of the work that I've done.
Mhm. Well, thank you so much for that advice and for your time today, Teresa. It is very much appreciated, and it's amazing to hear how successful your career has been. And it's so exciting to look forward to all the things to come. Thank you for everything you're doing to shape the future of women's sports in Canada and for all your insights that you've shared with our listeners.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it.
much.